It's an honor to speak with you, and I'm talking to you this morning about the well-being of children in the context of family and community. I'm humbled to have this opportunity to talk about strong families. And like many families, mine is not without its strength, but also not without its challenges. So I was thinking, oh my God, do I have a strong family? But these are, I wanted to start off with this slide. I just happened to come across this picture, and it comes from, I don't know if any of you know a gentleman by the name of Joe Langeman, and he was a game warden, worked in the Yukon in the 60s, and he was a photographer as well, and he has beautiful pictures, and I just wonder where they're all at. But we visited him. I live on Vancouver Island now, and we visited him, and he shared some of these pictures. And I was looking for one of my grandmother, actually. This is not my grandmother, but a beautiful woman and child, and I thought that really gave the image of self-determination. So this morning I want to talk to you about these areas of health and well-being, traditional roles and responsibility, cultural practices, and the role of the community. And I know that the discussions so far have been sort of focused on the child and the development of the child, and a little bit around the importance of the health and well-being of the mother and the family. And that's going to be sort of my focus on this presentation. So this definition comes from the Mental Health Commission, and it says that that it's broadly understood by Aboriginal peoples in Canada that well-being or wellness comes from a balance of body, mind, and spirit that's tied to cultural identity, self-determination, community, and family and land. And this has certainly been the case for the Yukon. This photo is my Aunt Lynch, who lives in Pelly Crossing, and right up until last year she was actively hunting. She was out on the river with her husband, and they were in an old boat moose hunting, and she was trapping and also has a fishing camp. But this year she's 86 this month. So this year she kind of slowed down, and she's given up some of these activities. So I began my career as an Aboriginal nurse and nurse midwife. And so I've been lucky enough to approach the development of healthy families from many different perspectives and different angles. And I spent a good part of my career working on land claims and treaty negotiations. The impetus for land claims in the Yukon was for a better future for the children. And this year, as you all know, there was all the celebrations around 40 years since Together Today for Our Children Tomorrow. And that policy document laid the foundation for settling the land question and self-determination for Yukon First Nations, or at least for most of them. Yukon First Nations, I don't know how many of you know this, but were leaders amongst Canada's Aboriginal rights movement, and it really was our steadfast vision for a better future for our people. Our leaders recognized that if we were to survive as a people, we must have the rights to our land and resources. And this is just a quote that came from that little pamphlet that was called Together Today for Our Children Tomorrow. Our people have many deep feelings about the land and about the future for our children. So our leaders saw the importance of the well-being of children, not just as Yukoners, but as Indigenous Yukoners, as First Nation Yukoners. They saw the need to protect our connection to the land, to know who we are, and to practice our traditional ways as key in determining our own future. The elders, the old elders, reminded us of our own unique role on this land. that we have a duty to look after the land, the animals, the plants, the water, and each other. And one of the ways of doing that was the sort of the overarching principles of living in the North: respect, caring, and sharing, and that's something that the old elders talked about a lot. And from that flow all of the teachings of, whatever teachings are being taught at that point, whether it be parenting or how to fish or how to hunt. I sat many long hours where our side of the negotiating table tried to argue for our rights and our heritage and for opportunities for future generations. And the irony is that while we argued and negotiated for all those years, carrying the vision for a better future for our children, many of us sacrificed the time away from family and children. Maybe it could have been done differently, but it had to be done. Because the first point I want to make is that of social justice. Social justice is an essential building block to building strong families. And while we have celebrated the 40 years later, and many First Nations have their land claim agreement entrenched in the highest law of the land, we have more educational opportunities, more jobs. We have doctors and lawyers and social workers and educators. We have people in business. However, we are still struggling for social justice for all our people. In my home community of Pelly Crossing, we're striving towards this dream of self-reliance through education and training and healing past hurts. We speak about leave no one behind, that all of our people have a place in our future. And this is not an easy quest. We're still struggling with the legacy of residential school and the traumas that have been passed down. This long-lasting imprint upon our children and families is evident in varying degrees in our community as well as other communities.